What happens when two identities you've been told don't go together try to coexist in one person? That's the question raised when Graham Norton dares to ask, can I be gay and Muslim? On the surface, it seems simple. But beneath that question lies a world of contradictions, courage, hidden lives, and the possibility of something different. Islam is one of the world's major faiths, guiding the lives of over 1 billion people. Traditional teachings within many Muslim communities have long held that homosexual acts are prohibited. These teachings shape families and social expectations across cultures and continents. But beneath that sweeping statement lives a reality less often spoken of. There are thousands, likely many more, who identify both as LGBTQ+ and as Muslim. They live quieter lives, hidden lives, or lives of open defiance. The fact that Pakistan, Indonesia, Saudi Arabia, and other Muslim-majority societies all have people quietly negotiating this space shows identity is not always neat. And when someone like Graham Norton asks the question, he gives voice to an unspoken tension. Consider the story of Amrou Al-Kadhi, also known by their drag persona, Glamrou. Growing up in a Muslim Iraqi family with conservative expectations, they carried a deep sense of conflict. They write of discovering gender fluidity and feeling split between identities. In one interview, they described feeling worthless under the weight of expectations. Then discovering drag as a tool for healing and self-expression. Their journey shows how faith, heritage, and queer identity can collide and sometimes fuse into something new. Then there's Ludovic-Mohamed Zahed, a French-Algerian imam who identifies as gay. He founded inclusive prayer spaces for LGBTQ+ Muslims, arguing that faith and sexuality need not be opposites. These stories reveal what the question, can I be gay and Muslim, means in practice. It's not theoretical, it's deeply personal. And the tension between the parts of one's identity can lead to shame, silence, resilience, and sometimes radical reinvention. Graham Norton is known for his openness, for talking about sexuality and identity on a mainstream platform. His asking that question matters because it forces a public gaze on something many feel only in private. It says, perhaps this silence is unsustainable. It also provokes, if someone outside the faith identity experience can ask it, then perhaps people within it are asking too quietly, painfully, bravely. But the question also comes with limitations. Norton's platform is huge. His context is different. He isn't someone who grew up balancing mosque and drag. So while the question is powerful, it can only be a gateway. It can't capture the full lived experience. And yet, it matters that it was asked. Here is where the hardest tensions lie. On one side, doctrines, interpretations, and centuries-old traditions, which in many Muslim communities view homosexual acts as impermissible. On the other, individuals whose souls know different orientation or gender than expected. Family pressure weighs heavily marriage, children, religion, community honor. To reject any piece of this comes at a cost. Ostracism, silence, mental health toll. One young queer Muslim wrote, "My whole life I was told being queer is a sin, and I prayed I would go back to being straight." This is the terrain. Internal conflict, external expectations, religious devotion versus personal truth. Reports suggest that some Muslim communities are quietly debating reinterpretations of scripture, but these remain limited in scope and the risk of backlash is real. The question isn't just, can I be gay and Muslim? It's, will I survive being both, or will I be allowed to be both? Amid the struggle, pathways of hope emerge. Organizations like Inclusive Mosque Initiative in the UK run support groups for LGBTQ+ Muslims. Mosques such as Masjid Al-Rabia in Chicago offered LGBTQ-affirming worship, though faced closure. These are radical in Chicago. They're context spaces where being Muslim and queer isn't erased but held. Young Muslims today, online, abroad, connected, are asking the question differently. Why must I choose? Sometimes culture lags behind. Sometimes faith evolves. We are seeing tentative shifts, queer-friendly scholarship, inclusive theology, social media voices. And maybe, just maybe, change is not only possible, it is already happening. If you're a Muslim and part of the LGBTQ+ community, or believe you might be, this is your story too. You are not invisible. You may feel alone, but you are not alone. Because thousands in quieter corners are asking the same question. If you're family or friend to someone in this space, this might be your chance to listen differently, to hear the tension instead of immediately resolving it, to support instead of silence. And if you're outside both these identities, maybe a believer, maybe not, this question invites a broader reflection on faith, but also on identity, on community, but also on compassion. The question, can I be gay and Muslim, is not a clever turn of phrase. It is a doorway into human complexity, into living with contradictions, into what it means to belong. To recap, we walk through tradition and teaching, real lives of people reconciling faith and sexuality, the power of a public figure like Graham Norton to stir conversation, the friction of family and doctrine, the emergence of inclusive spaces, and what the broader meaning is for all of us. But beyond that recap lies a larger thought-provoking question. When we ask, can I be gay and Muslim? Maybe the real question is, will our communities allow us to be both? And perhaps even, will our hearts allow us to hold both? Because identity isn't a checklist of boxes, it's a living, changing intersection of experiences. So the next time you hear that question or ask it yourself, listen for what it means beyond the words. The answer might not be neat or final, but it might be honest and it might be hopeful. If you learned something here, share in the comments, what does this question mean to you? And let's keep the conversation going.